I'm possibly thinking of not buying any books for all of 2021. Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alicia. If you're not, welcome back. Today I thought I'd come back and do a birthday book haul. Earlier this week it was my birthday and I did have some friends and family members get me some books, so I thought what a better time to do a book haul. I did not buy or treat myself for my birthday. I didn't buy any books. I've been trying ever since early August to not buy any books. I'm kind of on a no spending book phase just because I do have a lot of physical books on my shelf and I want to get through them before I do purchase more books. And I'm trying to do this up until December, the last day of December of 2020. I'm possibly thinking of not buying any books for all of 2021. I don't know if that's possible. I did buy a 12-month subscription to Book of the Month, so I am still getting that one free, not free because I already paid for it, but that one book every month. I already paid for it up front. But that's the only thing that I'm getting on a month-to-month basis. And then once that year subscription is done, I probably won't renew it or will renew it. I'm not really sure. I'm just trying to be more conscious about buying books and my spending. And if there are books that I do want to buy, I always make sure that it's an author that I want to support. And I am making a more intentional effort to support more POC authors, Black authors, Indigenous authors, and female authors. Yeah. So without further ado, let's get right into the book haul. The first two books that I want to talk today were sent to me by Charmaine. I will leave her Instagram link down below, as well as provide her name right here on the page. Her Instagram name is Traveling Through Books, and she does have a Bookstagram where she talks about a lot of books and she has great recommendations. So I highly recommend you check her out. I met Charmaine through a Discord group for ShelfSpace. I will also leave a link to ShelfSpace link down below. It's a wonderful community where we talk about books and it is run by Jessie May. I will also link her YouTube channel down below. The two books that Charmaine sent over were Slay and Jade City, and I'm really excited to get to both of them. I know that a lot of people are really into Jade City in our Discord group, and I haven't had the chance to pick it up yet or read it, so I'm really excited for when I do end up reading it. Probably not till the month of November, but nonetheless, I'm really excited about it. I've been really excited to read Slay by Brittney Morris. Follow our main character, Kira, who is a high school student and also the game developer for a popular online game called Slay. This takes a wrong turn when a kid in Kansas is murdered over a dispute in Slay, the game, which is primarily a safe space or safe haven for the Black community gamers. And when the murder becomes public, Slay starts to become labeled in the media as racist and discriminatory against whites. And so I think it touches on a lot of different topics that are relevant today, including the fact that people of color and Black people need safe haven communities where they can really be their true self, and the idea of people of color taking up space in non-white spaces and have that be okay. So I'm really excited to read this and I can't wait to get started. Birthday were from my family. I have one book from my oldest brother, another book from my younger brother, and then one book from my mom. The first one is Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. I'm super excited to get to read this because earlier this year I did read Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, and even though it's a very dark book to say the least, I 100% enjoyed it, and so I can't wait to read more of her work. Since this is more of a thriller horror book, I don't want to know anything about it. I just want to jump right in and get started. But let me know down below if you have read other things by Karen Slaughter and you've read Pretty Girls. Please let me know down below if her other books are just as good. The next book that I got from one of my brothers is The Killing Moon by N.K. Jemisin. This is one of her earlier books, I believe, and it is also part of a series. I do have the Broken Earth trilogy, which I haven't started. I still need to get to it, but I've always heard great things from about NK Jemisin, and she's won the Nebula Award and a bunch of other awards. So I can't wait to actually dip my feet into her writing. I know that she tends to write in the second person sometimes, so I'm not really sure if I'll vibe with that, but nonetheless, I'm just really excited to get started on her works. The last book that I received from my family was from my mom, and this is A Woman's Influence by Sherry Gaskins and Tony Gaskins Jr. This is more, I think this is like a self-help book, and it basically talks about how a woman can influence a relationship. So definitely going to be more of a slow read, but I hope to learn something from it, and if not, at least criticize the shit out of it, because I mean, women should have influence in their relationship. I'm saying all this as my boyfriend is sitting right there on the left, but yes, women should be able to influence their relationship. You know, it's a partnership. It's two sides of a coin. I genuinely believe that any relationship, whether you're husband and wife, wife or wife, husband, friend, that there should be an equal footing in the relationship and everybody should have a voice. The next two books that I'm going to talk about were from Julian, who is my partner's brother. He did send me 3 books in total. The first one of those is Independent People by Halldor Laxness. In this, we follow our main character, whose name I'm going to butcher, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bajar Tour. But we follow him in 20th century Iceland, where he just wants to become a sheep farmer after being in servitude for many years. So it's a story about independence and wanting and seeking independence. It looks like a beautifully crafted novel. There's not much plot in this, and from what I can tell from the synopsis, but so far I think it's going to be a really, really interesting and enriching read. I don't believe I've read any book so far that's set in Iceland, and I'm really interested in learning more about what 20th century Iceland was like and learn about the politics and the culture and the history. This also won the Nobel Prize some year, so I mean, I'm looking forward to this. This is right up my alley. These are some of the books that I really like, so I'm really excited. The next 2 books are part of a 6-book series. The first one is called Shogun, and this is part of the Asian saga. And then the second one is Taipan by James Clavell. So I didn't get much of a synopsis either after looking up this book. I do know that it is a historical fantasy novel set in 17th century Japan, and that we follow our main character, John Blackhorn, who is an Englishman lost at sea that ends up in Nippon, Japan. And then from there, I believe we get to learn again the historical context of Japan in the 17th century and what the politics are like, what the culture is like. I do have slight hesitance going into this one just because it is written by a white man and they're writing about 17th century Japan. So I'm not sure how accurate the culture and the history and the language is going to be. So I am going to go into this with a little bit of hesitance and definitely with more of a critical eye. But so far, from what I can tell from reviews that I've read, is that the story itself is amazing. So I can't wait to get started. The last set of books that I received for my birthday are from my partner, Ben. He did get me quite a few, and I'm really excited about these because most of them I had never heard about. Maybe 2 of them I heard about. But yeah, he bought me books that I would have not necessarily picked up myself, and it's always good and enlightening to read something, or it's really refreshing to read something that maybe you didn't pick up yourself and find a new favorite from those. The first one of those is By Any Means Necessary by Candice Montgomery. In this book, we follow our main character, Tori. He is a queer, first-generation college attending adult. It's the first time anyone in his family is attending college, and while he's there, he learns that his uncle's bee farm is going to be set up for auction because no one else is tending to it. So in this book, he's kind of torn between having to pursue his education or, you know, stay back and help his family out, which I think is very relevant to a lot of first generation students, and it's a very important topic and a very important choice that a lot of students have to make. Even when you go off to college, you often have to work and send money back to your family to support them. So I'm really excited to read this book. It sounds like a really interesting read and very wholesome, and I need a little bit of that right now. The next book that I have in this haul that my partner got me is Come Together, Fall Apart by Cristina Hernandez. This is a collection of a novella and 8 short stories, I believe. This is the author of Unknown Americans, which I read last month, and I really enjoyed that story and that book. I just thought I needed a little bit more, so I'm really excited to read something that's a little bit shorter by her. The next book that he ended up getting for me is The Shadow King by Maaza Mengiste. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name right. This was shortlisted, I believe, for the 2020 Booker Prize. I did want to read the 2020 Booker long list this year, but then it's expensive. Like, I was trying to find the books online and they don't really have them at the library, and when they do, there's a really long hold on them. So then I thought about buying them, but that's expensive. New books are so expensive. So then I was like, okay, maybe I'll do the short list, but then I was like, that's still expensive. So maybe I'll do it next year. Maybe I'll do it the year after that. So far, I'm just interested in reading the International Booker Prize winners and the Booker Prize winners for previous years, because those tend to be cheaper since they're not newly released. But this is one that was on the short list. The Shadow King takes place in Ethiopia in 1935, and it looks like we follow Harut, who was recently orphaned, as she's trying to adapt to her new life as a maid. It talks about basically Harut and other women who want, in a sense, independence, just like independent people that we just talked about earlier, and they want to be able to do more and have more options and explore more in this very totalitarian Ethiopian setting back in 1935. So it sounds like another book that is up my alley. The last 2 books are Terra, Nulli by Claire G. Coleman. I don't have any idea what this is about. I do believe it is written by an indigenous author. I'm just going to read the synopsis because I have no idea what it is about. Jackie was running. There was no thought in his head, only an intense drive to run. There was no sense he was getting anywhere, no plan, no destination, no future. All he had was a sense of what was behind, what he was running from. Jackie was running. The natives of the colony are restless. The settlers are eager to have a nation of peace and to bring the savages into line. Families are torn apart. Re-education is enforced. This rich land will provide for all. This is not Australia as we know it. This is not the Australia of our history. This is Terra Nullius, is something new but all too familiar. So it does look like this is set in Australia. It doesn't really give you much more for the synopsis after this, but again, I'm trying to be more intentional and more inclusive in my reading, so I'm really excited to dive into this one. And then the last book that I have is Spirits of the Ordinary by Kathleen Alcala, and this story is set in northern Mexico it doesn't tell you, at the turn of the last century, so late 20th century, and I'll just also read the synopsis for this one. Caravals have been practicing their Jewish faith in secret. The father Julio spends his days dabbling with alchemy. His wife Mariana cannot speak but is clairvoyant. Their son is obsessed with his search for gold. Central to the surprising destinies of these characters are the momentous events taking place high in the mountains, at the ancient and sacred cliff dwellings of Casas Grandes. This compelling story of 2 cultures and of the elusive bonds of faith and love is dazzling in its richness and sweep. So it does look like it's going to have a little bit of magical realism in it, and it's going to be more of a character-driven novel. This sounds like a really good book. Hi everybody, I briefly wanted to jump in and mention 3 books that I forgot that Ben got me. The first one is Mothership, Tales from Afrofuturism and Beyond, edited by Bill Campbell and Edward Austin Hall. It includes a lot of different authors, and it includes a lot of different stories on Afrofuturism, which is a genre that I've been meaning to get more into. And on top of that, I've been meaning to read more short stories and anthologies, and this is a great way for me to read a lot more authors. The other book is Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roan Horse. And it does look like this is the first book to a series. Other than that, I'm not sure what it's about, but it does look like it's by another Indigenous author, and it's an Indigenous-based fantasy, which is super cool. And then the last one is The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Van Kaima. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. I'm so sorry. But this has been on my list for a very long time. They are the author of The Sympathizer, which I haven't read. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Yeah, that was it for my book haul today. Definitely have a widespread of genres and books to pull from here, but let me know down below if you've heard of any of these books or if you've read any of them and what you think about them. Thanks again for coming back, and I'll see you next time. Bye.